Baltimore, Maryland is home to one of the country's largest urban school districts. More than 84,000 students, 86% who are African American, attend nearly 200 city schools. Those schools share many of the challenges facing other urban school districts across the country: low student achievement, high dropout rates, crumbling infrastructure, and a student body that is 84% low income. To help address some of these issues, in 2010, the state of Maryland received a $250 million grant from the Obama administration's Race to the Top education initiative. In order to qualify for its share of the money, Baltimore City and the 8,000-strong Baltimore Teachers Union agreed on a new contract that measures teacher quality through student test scores and links them to teacher evaluations and pay. The deal was widely praised at the time, including by Secretary of Education Arne Duncan, who said Baltimore is now one of the handful of cities that is leading the nation in innovative contracts and making teachers real partners in reform. Baltimore public school teacher Kimberly Mooney voted for the contract.
When the idea came out of linking teacher performance to pay, I voted for that. However, I think that a lot of people didn't really know what that meant. I, for one, didn't really know what that would mean. I think that we were encouraged by the idea that we would be able to demonstrate each in our own subject area how we are working to make sure students are successful. I don't think that any of us fully realized what that would mean in terms of standardized tests. And I think that the outcome of the vote might have been different if we had fully realized what that would mean.
Baltimore City Schools and the Baltimore Teachers Union did not respond to multiple interview requests for this story. Today, dissatisfaction is growing. The new contract has resulted in large numbers of teachers receiving unsatisfactory evaluations, which is grounds for dismissal. Although the city refuses to release the exact number, in some schools it's as high as 60%, according to the Baltimore Sun.
A lot of the best teachers are going to go. That's just the only way to put it.
Among those speaking out is 20-year-old education advocate Greg Hill, who fears teacher quality will decrease because of the new teacher evaluations and the expansion of programs such as Teach for America that trains members for a few weeks before putting them in the classroom.
The teachers that people actually like, the teachers who don't come in for 1 or 2 years with Teach for America and then skate off to the next city. You know, the ones who are really dedicated to the students, who are really organic to the area, who know the problems of those students, those teachers are going to be gone. And without those teachers, school really means nothing once you lose that.
Hill is organizing coordinator for the Baltimore Algebra Project, a youth-run peer organization that works to bring students to the highest levels of proficiency in math and fights for student rights through advocacy and direct action.
You're graded on how good of a teacher you are by how many of your students pass. Your students will only pass this standardized test if that's the only thing you teach. When it turns into that, there's no teacher autonomy, there's no engaging lesson plan, there's no, kids, let's go out and learn in the field today. All of that ends. When school is no longer engaging, nobody wants to be there. The teachers don't want to teach what they're teaching, so why should the students want to learn what they're teaching?
Also in opposition is Morna McDermott, a professor of education, activist, and administrator for United Opt-Out National.
Across the whole state of Maryland, it's going to affect places like Baltimore City the greatest because those are the children who, because of all these other factors, struggle the most with test performance. It's not that they're not able to learn, they just don't quote-unquote test as well, different zip code.
Again, Greg Hill of the Algebra Project.
And that's the way people are looking at school nowadays, because if you only adjudicating how good of a student this person is on that test, then even if that student is brilliant but is just a horrible test taker, you're failing that student year after year after year after year until they just don't want to do it anymore.
My son goes to a Baltimore County school. It's not going to hit him as hard in his classroom as it will in some of the more economically challenged areas in Baltimore City. They're going to get a teach-to-the-test model of schooling, not critical thinking. So you have a two-tier system, one for kids who are going to go forward and be critical thinkers, masters of the universe, and one who are going to be the quote-unquote laborers. And at this point, I can't help but think it's intentional. I used to think they were just stupid and that they just didn't get it. But the more and more I know, the more and more I think this is exactly what they want to have happen.
Defenders of Maryland's participation in Race to the Top point out that Baltimore City receives additional funding, $50 million of Maryland's $250 million grant. But critics have argued that much of the money ends up in the pockets of private consultants. In Baltimore, more than half of the $50 million will go to developing the new teacher evaluation system and not to the classroom.
I don't know where that money has gone, but I have not seen a direct impact of that money, and I definitely can tell you a lot of ways that our schools really need money, and I don't know that money with so many strings attached is really going to see its way into the classrooms.
Union activists say they will oppose extending the current contract when it expires in 2014. Reporting for The Real News, this is Jessel Noor in Baltimore.